You see a photograph of physicist Michio Kaku on your screen. The caption reads, "Alien probe heading to Earth with hostile intent." The video gets 3 million views in 6 hours. The comments fill with panic. Military coordination, impact predictions, November 2025, the end is coming. Only one problem. Kaku never said it. The interview happened in February 2025, 4 months before the comet was even discovered, but the lie already circled the planet twice before the truth put its shoes on. The Atlas telescope in Rio Hurtado catches something moving. Fast. Really fast. 210,000 kilometers per hour. The fastest object ever recorded entering our solar system. By July 2nd, observatories around the world confirm it. Hyperbolic trajectory. That means it came from outside. Interstellar. The third one we have ever seen. They name it 3I Atlas. The I stands for interstellar. Within 48 hours, the internet explodes. Also, comment from which city you are hearing this from. Also, this script is researched and factual, using sources from NASA's official 3I Atlas mission page, updated October 16, 2025, the European Space Agency's Comet Tracking Database, peer-reviewed papers from the James Webb Space Telescope Observational Team published in August 2025, Al Jazeera's SANAD fact-checking investigation published October 3, 2025, and the ARXIV preprint server hosting multiple 3I Atlas analysis papers with submission dates ranging from July through October 2025. Now back to the information. The panic starts small, a fringe website, then another. By September 29th, the New York Post runs the headline, "Massive comet hurtling toward us is larger than previously thought. Could be alien tech," scientist says. Within 12 hours, that headline mutates across social media. The word could becomes is. The scientist in question is Avi Loeb, Harvard astrophysicist, former chair of the astronomy department from 2011 to 2020. Loeb publishes a paper on July 16, 2025, with 2 co-authors, Adam Hibbard and Adam Crowell from the Initiative for Interstellar Studies. The paper title, "Is the Interstellar Object 3I Atlas Alien Technology?" By September, Loeb assigns a 30 to 40% likelihood that 3I Atlas does not have a fully natural origin. The internet hears 40% alien spacecraft and runs. 3I Atlas was first spotted on June 14, 2025, in pre-discovery observations. The official discovery announcement came July 1st. The Minor Planet Center collected 122 observations from 31 different observatories by the time they confirmed its interstellar designation. The Hubble Space Telescope photographed it on July 21st, 2025, when the comet sat 365 million kilometers from Earth. Because Hubble tracked the moving comet, background stars appear as streaks in the exposure. The image shows a teardrop-shaped dust cloud. Fuzzy, glowing, exactly what a comet looks like when solar radiation heats its icy nucleus and gas escapes, lifting dust into space to form the coma. By August 6th, the James Webb Space Telescope observes 3I Atlas with its near-infrared spectrograph. The results come back: carbon dioxide. Lots of it. Water ice, water vapor, carbon monoxide, carbonyl sulfide. The carbon dioxide to water ratio measures 8 to 1. That is unusually high compared to solar system comets, but unusual does not mean artificial. It means this comet formed somewhere else, under different conditions, around a different star. The Very Large Telescope in Chile confirms these findings on separate observation dates, July 20th for nickel and August 14th for cyanide. The nickel emission radius extends 600 kilometers. The cyanide extends 840 kilometers. Mass loss rates, 0.9 grams per second for nickel, 3.9 grams per second for cyanide, 150 kilograms per second total. These numbers match natural cometary outgassing. NASA's Swift Observatory detects OH emission on July 31st and August 1st, 2025, indicating water production around 40 kilograms per second. That is active, yes, about 20% of the comet's surface sublimating, higher than typical, but still well within natural comet behavior when accounting for the object's composition and distance from the sun. Initial brightness measurements suggested 3. I Atlas might span 10 to 20 kilometers across. Loeb calculates a minimum mass of 33 billion tons and claims this makes it 1,000 to 1,000,000 times more massive than the first 2 interstellar objects, Oumuamua and 2I Borisov. The problem? Those initial estimates were wrong. Hubble observations revised downward. As of August 20th, 2025, the most likely diameter sits under 1 kilometer, with an upper limit around 5.6 kilometers and a lower limit near 440 meters. John Noonan at Auburn University in Alabama states the comet is probably somewhere in the range of 1 or 2 kilometers. Daryl Seligman, who led the first published study on 3-eye atlas, explains that brightness alone cannot determine size accurately without knowing albedo, the reflectivity of the surface. A small, bright object can appear similar to a large, dark object. Loeb himself cited the paper showing the 2.8 kilometer estimate, then chose to use the outdated 20 kilometer figure in his probability calculations. Multiple astronomers called this cherry-picking data. Early Hubble images, captured on July 21st, showed a glow pointing toward the Sun, 10 times longer than wide. Loeb interprets this as unusual. Standard comet physics explains it easily. When a comet does not spin rapidly, the sun-facing side stays hot while the night side stays cold. Ice sublimates primarily from the day side, creating a forward plume. This is documented behavior. A paper analyzing 3. IATLAS specifically notes that anisotropic mass loss is common in comets, where preferential sublimation occurs on the hot day side with near absence of sublimation on the night side. The authors reference earlier work from 2013, showing this is a known phenomenon. By late August, a proper dust tail becomes visible in observations, exactly as expected when the comet gets closer to the Sun and more material sublimates. The nickel to iron ratio also differs. Loeb claims the nickel emission, without corresponding iron, resembles industrial nickel alloys produced through carbonal processes. Here's the context Loeb omits. Interstellar comets formed in completely different stellar environments. Different temperatures, different pressure, different available materials. The James Webb observations confirm 3. IATLAS is unusually carbon dioxide rich, but unusual for us does not equal artificial. The comet likely originated from the Milky Way's thick disk, an older stellar population 7 to 14 billion years old. That means this comet predates our solar system. Its chemistry reflects conditions from a different era of galactic evolution. The nickel carbonyl pathway that Loeb flags as suspicious also occurs naturally near cometary nuclei when carbon monoxide interacts with nickel atoms. The Keck telescope paper from October 15, 2025, explicitly models this natural formation process and finds it consistent with observations. Polarization describes the orientation of light waves. Negative polarization happens when reflected light waves align perpendicular to the scattering plane more than parallel. This can occur naturally with specific particle sizes and compositions in the dust coma. As more data accumulated through August and September, the polarization measurements normalized. What looked extreme in limited early data became less remarkable with a fuller data set. This is exactly why scientists wait for peer review and multiple observations before drawing conclusions. Anomaly 5. Trajectory aligned with the ecliptic plane. The ecliptic is the flat plane where Earth and other planets orbit the Sun. 3. IATLAS approaches with its orbital plane, tilted only about 5 degrees from the ecliptic. Loeb calculates this has only a 0.2% random likelihood. He suggests this alignment indicates intelligent design, allowing easier access to planets. The flaw in this reasoning. 3. IATLAS is between 3 and 14 billion years old. If aliens aimed this probe at our solar system, they would have launched it before our planets existed. The protoplanetary disk that formed our solar system was still condensing when this object was already ancient. The alignment is more likely explained by the object's origin in the galactic disk, which shares a rough orientation with many stellar systems in the local galactic neighborhood. Steve Desch, an astronomer who publicly graded Loeb's analysis and gave it a failing score, points out that every object has a trajectory. Having one is not anomalous. The specific trajectory only seems meaningful if you ignore the billions of years this object has been traveling and the countless gravitational interactions it experienced along the way. Loeb calculates a 0.005% probability that 3 IATLAS would pass close to these 3 planets by chance. He uses the word optimized, implying intentionality. Look at the actual trajectory map. 3. IATLAS swings through the inner solar system on a hyperbolic path dictated by the Sun's gravity. It passes 29 million kilometers from Mars on October 3, 2025. It crosses near Venus on November 3rd at 97 million kilometers distance. It approaches Jupiter on March 16, 2026 at 54 million kilometers. These are not close approaches by astronomical standards. Mars orbiters had to strain to image 3 Atlas because it remained tens of millions of kilometers away. For a deliberately designed reconnaissance mission, these are terrible flybys. An actual alien probe would use propulsion to achieve close passes, maybe hundreds or thousands of kilometers, not tens of millions. The European Space Agency's ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter imaged 3 IATLAS on October 3rd from approximately 30 million kilometers. The comet appeared 50,000 times fainter than objects the orbiter normally photographs, requiring 5-second exposures. The image shows a white dot. The nucleus is too small to resolve. The coma shows no structure, suggesting artificial origin, just a fuzzy ball of sublimating ice and dust, natural. On August 15, 1977, the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University detected a strong narrowband radio signal lasting 72 seconds. The astronomer on duty, Jerry Amon, circled the printout and wrote "wow" in the margin. The signal never repeated, despite multiple follow-up observations. Its origin remains unknown. Loeb notes that 3I Atlas arrives from a direction within 9 degrees of where the WOW signal originated, calculating a 0.6% random chance. This is perhaps the weakest anomaly. The WOW signal happened 48 years ago from a poorly constrained direction. We do not know if it was terrestrial interference, a satellite, a distant astrophysical source, or something else. Linking it to 3. I Atlas requires believing that aliens sent both a radio signal in 1977 and a physical object that arrives in 2025, both from the same point, even though that point in the sky has moved substantially relative to our solar system over 48 years due to stellar motion. It is conspiracy thinking masquerading as probability calculation. You take one unexplained event, add another event with any vague connection, multiply the unlikelihoods, and claim the combined improbability proves something extraordinary. It proves nothing. It is data mining for patterns in noise. Step Down in 2020 published over 800 papers, advised dozens of students, legitimate scientists with real contributions to astrophysics. But since 2017, when Oumuamua was discovered, Loeb has consistently pushed the alien technology hypothesis for interstellar objects, despite lack of supporting evidence and strong pushback from the planetary science community. With Oumuamua, he suggested it might be a light sail because it showed slight non-gravitational acceleration. Other scientists explained this as ordinary outgassing, which is standard comet behavior and matches the data. Loeb doubled down. He founded the Galileo Project, raised funding to search for alien artifacts, wrote a best-selling book titled Extraterrestrial, and positioned himself as the maverick willing to ask the questions mainstream science ignores. The framing is seductive. Science advances when outsiders challenge dogma. Galileo faced persecution. Every revolutionary idea meets resistance. But Galileo had evidence, telescopic observations, mathematical models. Loeb has anomalies that are not anomalies, probability calculations that cherry-pick data, and a hypothesis that requires believing aliens sent a probe that looks, moves, and outgasses exactly like a natural comet. Chris Lintott, professor of astrophysics at the University of Oxford, called Loeb's 3I Atlas claims absolute nonsense on July 31st, 2025. He stated, "It is a comet, and no disguise, no camouflage, just a comet." Multiple SETI Institute scientists, people whose careers focus on searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, criticized Loeb's approach. They worry that sensational claims without extraordinary evidence damage the credibility of actual scientific searches for alien life. In October 2025, physicist and blogger P.Z. Myers published a detailed takedown titled "The Illogical Logic of Avi Loeb and the 3I Atlas Clown Show." Myers examines each of Loeb's 7 anomalies and explains why none are actually anomalous. He accuses Loeb of data mining, cherry-picking, and inflating probabilities to match his preconceptions, rather than following evidence to conclusions. Myers writes, "You take the brute facts of its existence and declare that the details are improbable. Okay, it has a size. That is not anomalous. Call me when you observe an object that is massless. That would be anomalous. I do not see how finding that it has a mass of 33 billion tons makes it more likely to be artificial than if it had a mass of 3 billion tons or 333 billion tons." Steve Desch, another astronomer, told reporters that Loeb has learned to thrive in our new post-truth attention economy. He claims to raise interest among the public for science, but he does not follow the scientific method, and he does not exemplify the process. It is a comet. It has always obviously been a comet. There are so many other things we do not understand, but this is not one of them. It is a comet. It is a really interesting comet from another star. It is the coolest comet we have ever seen, but for those in the back, it is a comet. Now, let's address the viral misinformation that exploded in September and October, the fake Michio Kaku quotes. Kaku is a theoretical physicist, futurist popularizer of science. He has appeared on countless television programs explaining physics to general audiences. In February 2025, months before 3I Atlas was discovered, Kaku gave an interview to Nation News about asteroid threats and planetary defense. The interview discussed general concepts of near-Earth objects and potential impact scenarios. Fast forward to late September 2025. Social media accounts start posting screenshots from that February interview with new captions claiming Kaku said 3. iAtlas might be an alien probe conducting a reconnaissance mission with hostile intent. The image spreads. An account under the name Lord Bebo shares the doctored post. It gets 290,000 views, dozens of comments, people panicking. The screenshot is real. The interview happened. But the words attributed to Kaku are fake. He never mentioned 3 iAtlas, because 3 iAtlas did not exist when he gave that interview. Al Jazeera's Sanad fact-checking unit investigated. They found zero evidence Kaku made any statements about 3 iAtlas being a spacecraft. The video clip circulating online is from February 20th, 2025. 3 iAtlas was discovered July 1st. The timeline does not work, but the fabricated quote goes viral anyway because it confirms what people want to believe. Mysterious comet, famous physicist, alien warning. Perfect clickbait. In reality, NASA's official website has a dedicated 3 iAtlas page updated continuously with new observations. The site states clearly, Comet 3. iAtlas poses no threat to Earth and will remain far away. The closest it will approach our planet is about 1.8 astronomical units, approximately 170 million miles or 270 million kilometers. 3. iAtlas will reach its closest point to the Sun around October 30th, 2025, at a distance of about 1.4 astronomical units, 130 million miles, or 210 million kilometers, just inside the orbit of Mars. Transparent, public, no cover-up. The European Space Agency issued similar statements. Their October 7th, 2025 press release confirms 3. Our iAtlas poses no threat to Earth or any other planet. The comet's closest distance was more than 2.5 times the Earth-Sun distance. These are the facts from official space agencies backed by multiple independent observations from telescopes around the world. Yet the conspiracy theories persist. A study from MIT in 2018 analyzing Twitter data found that false news spreads 6 times faster than true news. Falsehoods reach 1,500 people 6 times faster than truth. Emotional content, especially fear and outrage, drives more engagement. An algorithm does not care if information is accurate. It cares if users click, share, comment. A headline reading, Comet approaches Sun as expected, no threat gets ignored. A headline reading, Massive alien spacecraft hurtling toward Earth, military on high alert, gets millions of views. Content creators know this. Some are cynical, deliberately spreading misinformation for clicks and ad revenue. Others are true believers, convinced they are revealing hidden truths. Both feed the cycle. A fake claim appears. It spreads. Fact-checkers debunk it. But the debunking gets a fraction of the engagement. Most people who saw the original lie never see the correction. The false belief lodges in their mind, reinforced by repetition. They see variations of the same claim from multiple accounts. Social proof. If everyone is talking about it, it must be real. This is how misinformation becomes unkillable. June 14th, 2025. Pre-discovery observations from Atlas telescopes and Caltech's Zwicky Transient Facility at Palomar Observatory in California. July 1st, 2025. Official discovery announcement by the Minor Planet Center after 122 observations from 31 observatories worldwide. July 2nd, 2025. Confirmation of cometary activity showing a marginal coma with potential tail-like elongation measuring 3 arcseconds in angular length, observed by the Deep Random Survey in Chile, Lowell Discovery Telescope in Arizona, and Canada-France Hawaii Telescope at Mauna. Kia. July 21st, 2025. Hubble Space. Telescope captures the clearest image to date when 3 iAtlas is 365 million kilometers from Earth. The teardrop-shaped coma is visible. Size estimates begin July 31st to August 1st, 2025. NASA's Swift Observatory detects OH emission indicating water vapor production around 40 kilograms per second. August 6th, 2025. James Webb Space Telescope observes with near-infrared spectrograph, revealing the carbon dioxide-rich composition. August 20th, 2025. Revised size estimates narrow the range. Most astronomers now think the nucleus measures 1 to 2 kilometers. August 24th, 2025. Keck 2 telescope in Hawaii captures narrow-band images showing nickel and cyanide emissions. August 27th, 2025. Gemini South telescope at Cerro Pachon in Chile photographs 3 Atlas with the Gemini multi-object spectrograph. September 29th, 2025. The New York Post publishes the article that sparks the viral panic. October 2nd, 2025, social media reaches peak misinformation saturation with fake Michio Kaku quotes and alien spacecraft claims. October 3rd, 2025. 3. Atlas makes its closest approach to Mars at 29 million kilometers. Multiple Mars orbiters attempt observations. ESA's ExoMars. Trace Gas Orbiter successfully images the comet as a white dot. NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter observes, but data remains unreleased due to the government shutdown. China's Tianwen-1 and UAE's Hope Orbiter also collect data. October 30th, 2025. 3I Atlas reaches perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun at 210 million kilometers. The comet passes behind the Sun from Earth's perspective, making observation impossible from ground-based telescopes until early December. November 3rd, 2025. Closest approach to Venus at 97 million kilometers. December 25th, 3. Atlas reappears from behind the Sun, observable again from Earth if predictions about its trajectory hold. March 16th, 2026. Closest approach to Jupiter at 54 million kilometers. NASA's Juno spacecraft may observe, though the mission team notes Juno is low on fuel and has engine issues, making redirection difficult. Throughout this timeline, every observation confirms natural comet behavior. Outgassing increases as the comet approaches the Sun, the coma brightens. Gas production rates match theoretical models for a carbon dioxide-rich interstellar comet. The spectral signatures show molecules expected from sublimating ices, not from an artificial power source. The trajectory follows gravitational dynamics, with no evidence of propulsion, no course corrections, no non-gravitational acceleration beyond what outgassing naturally provides. And critically, no signals. If 3. Atlas were an alien probe, even a passive reconnaissance craft, we would expect some electromagnetic signature. Radio emissions, infrared excess beyond solar heating, laser pulses, anything indicating active technology. Radio telescopes around the world have monitored 3I Atlas. Nothing anomalous detected. The object radiates like a chunk of ice and rock warmed by the sun, because that is what it is. Avi Loeb himself acknowledges in his papers that by far the most likely outcome will be that 3I Atlas is a completely natural interstellar object, probably a comet. Yet he assigns 30 to 40% probability to artificial origin, and publishes blog posts speculating about Trojan horse scenarios, where the comet might release mini-probes to seed planets or maneuver toward Earth using a reverse Oberth maneuver hidden behind the Sun. He calls for the United Nations to establish extraterrestrial contact protocols. He frames his speculation as an exercise in scientific humility, arguing that we must consider low-probability, high-consequence scenarios. But there's a difference between considering a possibility and promoting it without evidence. Loeb is not a naive outsider. He knows how media works. He knows sensational claims generate attention. Every blog post, every interview, every paper title with alien technology in it ensures coverage. The Galileo project he founded relies on donations and grants. Publicity matters. Whether Loeb genuinely believes his hypothesis or is engaging in performance art disguised as science is ultimately unknowable. What matters is the impact. Credulous members of the public see a Harvard professor saying 40% chance of aliens and they panic. Conspiracy theorists point to Loeb as proof that the scientific establishment is finally admitting the truth. Actual SETI researchers, people doing careful work searching for technosignatures, have to spend time debunking claims from one of their own field's most visible advocates. It poisons the well. Oumuamua, discovered October 19, 2017 by the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii. The name means scout or messenger in Hawaiian. Initial observations showed an elongated shape, reddish color, and unusually high reflectivity. As it left the solar system, careful tracking revealed slight acceleration beyond what the sun's gravity alone would cause. Comets do this naturally through outgassing. Jets of gas from sublimating ice push the comet slightly off its gravitational trajectory. But Oumuamua showed no visible coma or tail. This puzzled astronomers. How can you have outgassing without visible gas? Various explanations emerged. Maybe the object outgassed hydrogen, which is transparent and hard to detect. Maybe it was rotating in a way that kept active areas hidden. Maybe it had an unusual composition. Loeb proposed it was a light sail, an artificial object using reflected sunlight for propulsion. Most astronomers rejected this. The acceleration fit outgassing models. The lack of visible coma did not rule out cometary nature. In September 2023, a paper analyzing Oumuamua's acceleration concluded it was almost certainly a comet with a standard outgassing mechanism producing hydrogen, explaining both the acceleration and the lack of visible tail. Case closed for most scientists, not for Loeb. 2I Borisov, discovered August 30th, 2019 by amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov in Crimea. This one was easier. Clear coma, clear tail, obvious comet. Spectroscopic observations showed water vapor, cyanide, and other typical cometary molecules. The composition resembled solar system comets more closely than 3I Atlas does, but it still showed differences reflecting its extrasolar origin. Borisov's discovery confirmed that interstellar comets are real, visit our solar system occasionally, and behave like comets. No controversy. No alien claims. It came, astronomers observed it, it left. The only differences are its higher velocity, its carbon dioxide-rich composition, and its probable ancient origin from the galactic thick disk. These differences make it scientifically fascinating, but not artificial. If anything, 3. I-Atlas is more obviously a comet than Oumuamua was, yet it attracted more alien speculation. Why? Partly because Loeb learned from Oumuamua that making alien claims generates massive attention. Partly because 3. I-Atlas is faster and bigger, making it sound more dramatic. Partly because social media infrastructure for spreading viral misinformation matured between 2017 and 2025, and partly because the world in 2025 is more prime for conspiracy thinking than it was 8 years earlier. Let's address the dark forest hypothesis that Loeb invokes. The idea comes from a science fiction novel by Chinese author Liu Cixin, The Dark Forest, published in 2008. The premise? The universe is like a dark forest full of hunters. Every civilization is a hunter hiding in the darkness. If you reveal your location, other hunters might destroy you preemptively. Therefore, the rational strategy is silence. Stay hidden. And if you detect another civilization, kill it before it kills you. This explains the Fermi paradox, why we do not see evidence of alien civilizations, despite the universe being vast and old. They are all hiding, or dead. In Loeb's 3I Atlas papers, he suggests that if the comet is a probe, it might be hostile under the dark forest logic. Therefore, we should prepare defensive measures, though he admits these might prove futile. This is fear-mongering dressed as caution. The dark forest hypothesis is fictional. It assumes aliens think like paranoid game theorists. It ignores countless alternative explanations for the Fermi paradox. Maybe advanced civilizations do not build galaxy-spanning empires. Maybe they communicate in ways we do not recognize. Maybe they are rare. Maybe intelligence is common, but technology stays local. Maybe we are early. Maybe they exist, but have not visited here. Choosing the darkest interpretation, the one that justifies panic and defense spending, reveals more about human psychology than about alien behavior. And applying it to a comet that shows zero evidence of being artificial is absurd. A spokesperson told reporters in September 2025 that all observations of 3I Atlas are consistent with it being a natural comet. The object has an icy nucleus and coma, a bright cloud of gas and dust surrounding a comet as it approaches the sun. This is why astronomers categorize it as a comet. NASA emphasizes that 3I Atlas poses no danger to Earth. As the Comet 3, I-Atlas journeys through the solar system, it will not come closer than 1.6 astronomical units, about 150 million miles or 240 million kilometers to our planet. These statements are clear, unambiguous, and backed by data from Hubble, Webb, Swift, ground-based observatories, and Mars orbiters. The scientific consensus is overwhelming. 3. I-Atlas is a comet. A fascinating comet from another star system, a messenger from a distant and ancient stellar nursery, a cosmic time capsule carrying information about conditions in the early Milky Way. But a comet, not a probe, not a weapon, not a Trojan horse. The real story of 3I Atlas is being overshadowed by manufactured controversy. Astronomers want to study its composition to understand how planet formation differs in other stellar systems. The 8-to-1 carbon dioxide to water ratio is genuinely unusual. What does that tell us about the temperature and chemical environment where this comet formed? The nickel and cyanide emissions offer clues about surface processes and ice composition. The probable age of 7 to 14 billion years means this object witnessed the Milky Way's evolution before our sun existed. Studying it is like reading a message in a bottle from the ancient galaxy. These are the real insights. These are the discoveries worth celebrating. Instead, the conversation is dominated by debunking alien claims and correcting misinformation. The narrowband images show nickel concentrated near the nucleus and cyanide extending farther out. The asymmetric emission profiles show extensions in both the solar and anti-solar directions, evidence of an anti-tail. Most remarkably, the white light image does not show evidence for a familiar cometary tail as expected for dust. The authors note this is unusual, but explain it through the comet's composition. With so much carbon dioxide and so little water, the comet produces less dust than typical. The material sublimating is gas-rich, creating the coma without a prominent dust tail that would scatter sunlight visibly. This is natural behavior for this specific composition, not evidence of artificiality. The paper models the nickel-carbonyl formation naturally and finds it consistent with observations. The authors do not suggest alien technology, they suggest interesting chemistry. He writes that the nickel emission without corresponding iron was only known to exist in industrially produced nickel alloys through the carbonyl chemical pathway. He then acknowledges the Keck paper authors postulate this carbonyl process realized naturally near the nucleus, but frames it skeptically. He states the more data we get about 3I Atlas, the more it looks like an outlier, taking account of the 7 previous anomalies. I keep its rank as 4 on the Loeb scale. The Loeb scale is his own invention, a metric from 1 for natural to 10 for confirmed hostile alien tech. He currently rates 3I Atlas a 4. This is not objective science. This is personal branding. No other astronomer uses the Loeb scale. It exists to center Loeb in the narrative and imply his assessment carries weight. It does not. If this were an alien spacecraft using the sun for a reverse Oberth maneuver to decelerate and target Earth, we would see course changes. We would detect propulsion. The object would deviate from its predicted gravitational trajectory. As of mid-October, no deviation observed. Seeleman and colleagues published an analysis of 3I Atlas's trajectory and found no evidence of non-gravitational acceleration beyond ordinary outgassing effects. The comet is moving exactly as an inert object should, pulled by the sun's gravity, nudged slightly by gas jets from sublimation. Loeb suggested that if 3I Atlas maneuvers toward Earth when it reappears on the other side of the sun, financial markets may crash. That statement was published October 3rd, 2025, on Medium. It is now mid-October. Will Loeb acknowledge if the comet does not maneuver? Will he admit his probability estimates were wrong? History suggests no. When Oumuamua left the solar system without any confirmed artificial signal, Loeb continued claiming it was likely a light sail. When other papers explained the acceleration naturally, he dismissed them. He has invested too much in the alien hypothesis. Backing down now would require admitting he wasted years chasing phantoms and misled the public. They believe it because a Harvard professor said so. They believe it because viral videos and fake quotes confirmed their suspicions. They believe it because the truth, a comet passing through, is boring. The human brain craves narrative. Aliens are narrative. Comets are data. And in the attention economy, narrative always wins. This has consequences. When the next interstellar object appears, will the public trust NASA? Will they trust astronomers? Or will they assume another cover-up, another conspiracy, another hidden truth? Misinformation is a corrosive acid eating away at the foundations of shared reality. Every fake claim, every sensational headline, every irresponsible speculation from a credentialed scientist makes it harder to have honest conversations about actual risks and actual discoveries. Here's the final word, for now. As October 2025 drew to a close, the world held its breath not for a scientific discovery, but for a plot twist from a movie. The internet buzzed with countdowns to perihelion. On October 30th, 3I Atlas made its closest approach to the sun, a fiery pass at a distance of 210 million kilometers, hidden from our view by the sun's glare. Online forums predicted this was the moment of truth. This was when the alien probe, as they called it, would perform its impossible maneuver, using the sun's gravity to brake and pivot, revealing its true trajectory toward Earth. The silence from the scientific community, necessitated by the laws of orbital mechanics and the comet's position, was interpreted as a cover-up. The government shutdown that had hampered the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's data release was cited as further proof of a conspiracy. For weeks, as 3I Atlas traveled behind the sun, the narrative was frozen in speculation. Avi Loeb published a new post on his blog in mid-November, suggesting that the lack of any pre-perihelion maneuver was itself suspicious. An advanced intelligence, he argued, would know it was being watched. It would hide its maneuver until it was out of sight. The post was titled, "Absence of Evidence is Not Evidence of Absence: The Intelligent Deception of 3I Atlas." He posited that when the object reemerged in December, we might find it on a completely new path. The internet amplified this, and the date of December 25th, Christmas Day, became the new focal point of dread and anticipation. On that day, observatories from Chile to Hawaii trained their instruments on the precise coordinates where the comet was predicted to reappear. And there it was, a faint point of light, exactly where gravitational mathematics said it would be. Over the following nights and weeks, its path was tracked with unwavering precision. It had not deviated. It had not maneuvered. It had not turned toward Earth. It was following the same hyperbolic exit trajectory it had been on since it entered our solar system. It was leaving. For the scientific community, this was the final, definitive nail in the coffin of the alien probe hypothesis. The comet had behaved exactly as a comet should. It warmed up near the sun, its activity likely peaked, and it continued on its journey, forever bound to the pull of gravity. NASA issued a statement on January 3, 2026, confirming that all observations since re-emergence showed 3I Atlas on its expected outbound path, posing zero threat. The statement included new data from the James Webb Space Telescope, which had observed the comet again in late December. The data revealed a complex organic chemistry in the coma, including traces of methane and ethane, further cementing its identity as a primitive, ice-rich body formed in the cold outer reaches of another solar system. The narrative shifted seamlessly from "it is coming for us" to "they stopped it." New theories blossomed in the same forms where panic had festered weeks earlier. A secret Space Force mission launched under the cover of the media blackout had intercepted and neutralized the threat. The reason the comet was still on a natural trajectory was because its alien propulsion systems had been destroyed. Others claimed the object had successfully deployed smaller stealth nanoprobes during its pass behind the sun, and these were now the real threat. Avi Loeb did not endorse these wilder theories, but he did not retract his own. In a January 2026 interview, he stated that the object's mission might have simply been a passive flyby, and its failure to deviate did not disprove its artificial nature. It simply meant its purpose was different than we assumed. The goalposts had been moved from Earth to the far end of the solar system. The beleaguered Juno spacecraft, with careful management of its remaining fuel, was able to capture a low-resolution image and collect magnetosphere data. The readings showed no anomalous magnetic fields, no radio transmissions, nothing but the faint disturbances expected from a gassy comet interacting with Jupiter's powerful environment. It was the last meaningful data point we would collect. The comet was now heading out into the darkness, moving at incredible speed, destined to never return. Led by Daryl Seligman, the team combined all available data from before and after the sun passage. Their conclusion was absolute. 3I Atlas was an ancient comet, likely more than 7 billion years old, born in a carbon-rich environment around an old, metal-poor star in the galaxy's thick disk. Its unusual composition was a window into the building blocks of planets from a different time and place in the Milky Way. Its trajectory was perfectly explained by gravity, and its slight non-gravitational acceleration was fully accounted for by the observed outgassing of carbon dioxide ice. There were no remaining anomalies, there was only new knowledge. Steve Desch, one of Loeb's most vocal critics, summarized the saga in an op-ed. He wrote, "We have just been visited by one of the most scientifically valuable objects in human history, a messenger from before the birth of our own sun. We learned that the chemistry of other solar systems can be vastly different from our own. We have tangible proof of what the early galaxy was made of. And what did we, as a civilization, do? We allowed the conversation to be hijacked by baseless speculation and fear-mongering. We spent more time debunking science fiction than we did celebrating a monumental scientific discovery." 3. Atlas was a test, not a test of our defenses against aliens, but a test of our ability to separate fact from fiction. It is a test we largely failed. The real story of 3I Atlas was not one of hostile aliens, but of a hostile information environment here on Earth. The comet has now left our solar system, but the lies it inspired remain firmly in orbit around us.